In a past video, I talked about why you should be skeptical of the personal finance gurus, aka the old guard. I spent time talking about the folks who love to shame you for getting your coffee or for renting instead of buying. I'm not talking about the old guard. Today, I'm talking about the new guard, this new crop of personal finance influencers or FinTalk influencers, and how you can be pragmatic and a little bit skeptical of the advice that is being sprinkled around everywhere, and to learn a little bit about some of the red flags you need to be cognizant of as you're consuming personal finance content. If you're new here, my name is Lindsay. I'm a social worker, financial therapist, and founder of the financial wellness business Mind, Money, Balance. I help you understand the intersection of money, mental health, and the systems that we live in so you can make financial decisions that work for you. Before we get into the green flags, orange flags, and red flags that you need to be mindful of as you're consuming personal finance content, I want to give a huge shout out to Chelsea Fagan of The Financial Diet, who was the person who flagged this study that talked about the dangers of influencers in the personal finance space online. This study that talks about 1 in 7 online posts being misleading. But I, being the former research data nerd that I am, wanted to look into that study and see exactly how they came up with that number. What they actually found was that of those 1 in 7 posts that they deemed to be misleading, they had to meet 2 sets of criteria. The first one was that the influencer did not list any sort of disclaimer before they gave their advice. This means they didn't say something like, "This is an opinion, this isn't advice," or "This is my thoughts, please make sure to do your own research," or "This is just information, this is not predictive." That was the first piece of criteria they had to meet, was that they did not do a disclaimer. The other piece of criteria was that these influencers had to offer advice that fit into one of these 3 categories. It had to be, here's a specific stock, share, or asset that you should purchase, or here's an investment you need to make because it will absolutely make you more money, or here is a specific number or amount of your savings or your income that you should put into an investment. So when I think about it in that way, my guess is that 1 in 7 number is way lower than the actual number of posts that are misleading, because there are probably many people who are talking about these things. Here's the stock you need to pick, or here's the percentage of money you need to put into savings, that do include a disclaimer. So to me, I think it's a helpful number, but I think it is, again, worth putting our critical thinking caps on, or critical thinking lenses on, as we are hearing studies like this or reading about studies like this. The other reason I think it's important to be a little bit cautious of this number is the study was funded by Paxful. Paxful is a cryptocurrency exchange. I'm not going to get into why I think that might be misleading. Again, this is a time where you can put on your critical thinking caps, but being mindful about why somebody might fund a study like that when the product and services that they provide are in the realm of cryptocurrency. I dug into this study a little bit more and also found that another interesting number that is worth pointing out, which is only 1 in 10 people who are sharing financial advice on TikTok have any sort of credential to do so, which means 90% of people sharing financial advice on TikTok have no credential to do so. To me, that number was even more astounding than the 1 in 7 posts might be misleading. So again, huge shout out to Chelsea Fagan of The Financial Diet for flagging that study, talking about it, and getting my wheels turning a little bit more on how you can be a mindful consumer of online content. Because let me be clear, I am not about gatekeeping information. I think the world of online information exchange has been huge in helping to create a level set of who gets information about what, when, why, and how. And we also need to be critical and grounded when we're taking in this information. Let me talk about some things that I think you can look for that might be red flags, orange flags, and green flags. If that's not self-explanatory, let me really break it down for you. A red flag is the type of content or the type of advice that people are sharing on platforms like this that is get out of Dodge, do not pass go, do not collect $200. This is bad advice. Then into the orange flag, which is like, there might be a grain of truth here, or there might be things worth taking. Just, make sure you're filtering it through your personal experience and also your lifestyle and your unique goals. Finally, there is green flag advice, which I would kind of deem as advice coming from somebody who is not only credentialed to do so, but they are not telling you what to do. I also want to address this myth that a credential or education means intelligent and not grifty. Even though I have a grad degree in social work, I have 3 different credentials behind my name about why I am qualified to practice financial therapy. I want to be crystal clear that having a degree or having a licensing board does not mean that people who have a degree or who have to report to a licensing board can't be grifty, scammy, or harmful. That's just not true. The inverse of that is also worth thinking about, that there are plenty of people who offer really amazing, well-rounded, thoughtful advice that may not have a credential or a letter behind their name that says they are qualified to do so. So I want to be really clear that the systems that we exist in do not mean that a credential means this is good and a person without a credential means this is bad. I just don't agree with that at all. I think having a credential creates an additional lens of protection for you as the consumer, because there's at least some sort of licensing board that the person who's giving that advice has to stay in line with. Otherwise, they can be at risk of having their license revoked or their credential revoked. So it's an additional layer of protection, but that does not mean that if you have a degree, then you are inherently a smart, wise, or not scammy person. Let's start out with the red flags. So if a finance influencer is talking about these things, this is a cue that this person is trying to take your money or is selling you snake oil, and they might be able to couch it in really fun language. So these are the things I need you to watch out for. I need you to watch out for people who are tunnel vision thinkers and tunnel vision enthusiasts. For example, a person who says something like, the only way to get rich or the only way to create wealth is through ... is through owning a bunch of rental properties, is through house hacking, is through putting all of your money into crypto. Anybody who says it is all or nothing, it's either this or that, is selling you a load of you-know-what. You need to be cognizant that when somebody says this is the only way that you'll ever get rich, and if you do anything differently, you're going to fall flat on your face, they are really playing into your anxiety about wanting to do the right thing, about having a sure bet. There's no such thing as a sure bet in life and certainly in finance. So anybody who says that this is the only way to do a thing is a huge red flag for me, and I need you to scroll away from that page, tell TikTok you don't want to see more videos like that, get out of Dodge. The other red flag are people who are telling you that you need to be in business specifically with them through something that looks like recruiting other people so that you may earn more money. And what tends to happen with these types of businesses is that it looks a little bit like a pyramid. And we need to be really mindful that somebody who's saying, this is the only way you can make money is by selling this essential oil kit, is by selling this set of leggings, is by selling this type of eyelash extension, is selling you something really sketchy. We know that MLMs, or multi-level marketing schemes, and I say scheme because that's what it is, 99% of people who enter into those types of businesses fail. And not only fail, but often lose money. And multi-level marketing schemes tend to prey on people who are already quite anxious and really need some additional money. More often than not, they go toward people who are single parents or toward parents who are stay at home, and they really prey on this idea that you can do this business in your own time and make all the money that you want by working the hours that you want. Be really thoughtful. If somebody is approaching you about buying or selling something like this, are you buying a product such as the oil or the leggings? Or are they asking that you buy a ton of that product, not only sell that product, but get your friends to sell that product too? That's a cue that this is a scam and falls into the multi-level marketing scheme. The other thing about multi-level marketing proponents is that they love to tell you that it's your own business, but I want you to just do, is this my business 101, which is, do I actually own these services, own these products, manufacture them and sell them myself, which would be being a small business owner? Or am I purchasing them from somebody else and have to sell them? That might require an extra grain of thinking because you can be a small business owner and be a franchise owner. But the key about being a franchise owner is that if you own a franchise, such as a fast casual restaurant chain or a hotel chain, the goal is not to get your friends to also buy fast casual food chains or hotel chains. The goal is to sell the food or sell the rooms at the hotel. So that's a big difference. So if you're seeing those MLM folks say that the best way that you can make money is through them, get out of there. The other red flag is people who are promising overnight or really quick ways to make money. People who are saying within 30 days, you can 10x your income. Within 14 days, you can double your money. That is really, really scary stuff because they're again preying on this anxiety of I need money, I want money. This person is kind of giving me the promised land. I want to go for it. That is something that you need to run away from. The other red flag is people who imagine that they can predict the future. They are the oracles. They are the stock predictors. They are the people who say, here are the 5 stocks you need. Here's the way that you can day trade your way to money. We know that between 93 and 95% of people who day trade or stock pick underperform the S&P 500. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to do a brief primer. The S&P 500, aka the Standard & Poor's 500, is a stock market index tracking, which tracks the performance of 500 of the biggest companies in the US that are publicly traded and listed on the stock exchange. What we know is that year over year, time after time, the S&P 500, this conglomerate of 500 companies, if you invested in all of them, and if you're thinking, how do I do that? You buy an index fund. That's another video for another day. That cluster of companies is going to outperform somebody who's picking 5, 10, 20, heck, even 50 of these supposed stocks almost every single time. So if anybody says these 5 stocks are going to take off, you need to get them, run. Get out of Dodge. They are not for you. These oracles and predictors are often not only selling you a handful of stocks, but usually there's some sort of gate that you must pass through with money in order to get access to those stocks. For example, they will say for $3.99 or for $9.99. You can come into my membership, my course, my world, where once a week I tell you my stock picks, right? So they're not really selling you on their stock picks. They're selling you on this membership so that you can get access to those stock picks, even though most of the time their stock picks are not going to outperform what just buying a plain old index fund would do for you. So those are red flags. If you see them, again, flag, not interested in this content, scan away, do not watch, because then the algorithm will get smart and keep pushing you all of that loads of crap. Moving on to the orange flags. Orange flags are the proceed with caution. There might be some valuable information there, but you want to be mindful of, are they selling you on access to them? Or are they giving you general information and also creating a space for you to be mindful of the decisions that you need to make for yourself? So things like people who sell insurance. I want to be clear. I live in the United States. I need health insurance as a self-employed person. I need to make sure that my house, my cars, those things are insured. And I also need to make sure that my life is insured. Now, if somebody is selling you on the idea that life insurance can act as a retirement policy for you, slips from being an orange flag into being a red flag. Let me explain. Life insurance is absolutely a thing that many people do need in order to protect their loved ones, financially speaking, when they die. Notice the key phrase there, when they die. Life insurance is not for you. It is for your loved ones. It is an insurance policy that in the event that you die prematurely, your loved ones will be able to maintain the life that they are already used to, or at least be able to offset the costs of life. So this is incredibly important if you have children, if you care for an adult child with a disability, if your partner doesn't work and you are the sole breadwinner. There are many different reasons why you might need a life insurance policy, but I want you to be careful if somebody's saying, this is not only a life insurance policy, but it's also a retirement policy, because guess what? Remember, life insurance is not for you. It is for when you die, for your loved ones. So if somebody is telling you that life insurance is the way to protect your future financial well-being, That ain't true. Get out. Other orange flags are people who either don't have proper training or who have exited a specific type of industry. Again, revisit my disclaimer. This is not me shading people who've left the industry or don't have training, but I think it is really important that folks say, here's what I have, here's what I don't have, please proceed with caution. Great, love that. Or saying things like, hey, here's why I left the industry. Here are the things that I think are important for you to know. Love that. But I want to be mindful of folks who just say like, hey, I woke up one day and wanted to share this information with you. We want to be cautious of that kind of stuff. The other thing we want to be cautious of is sponsored content. I love some sponsored content when it is aligned with the work that I do. I will share affiliate links of products and services that I use, but I will not, for me, sell things or shill for things that I disagree with or I wouldn't use personally. Not everybody has that same lens. I'm not here saying that like I'm this perfect person. By all means, I'm sure there are products and services that I use and I'm an affiliate for that you're like, that doesn't work for me. That makes sense. But we want to be mindful of people who are kind of bopping from brand to brand, service to service, product to product, because they're often getting a cut of what they are selling. So just be mindful of that. The other thing you need to be mindful of is folks who are kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum. Usually in personal finance creation, it's all about saving money, investing money, making your money work hard. Then on the other hand, we have these folks who are like, the world is doom and gloom. I am not interested. So why not just spend money while I have it? These are the folks who are in the YOLO, you only live once mentality. The TikTok is HSN shopping mentality. This was viral a while ago when people were saying, I have my whole life to live behind a cubicle, but I only have one chance to be 26 and traveling the world with my partner. Those types of things where you're like, yes, and we need to be financially cognizant because, again, we live in a society where we don't have a lot of social safety nets and we often have to be our own social safety net. So YOLO within reason. And if they are not doing the within reason, I want you to be cautious of them. So who can you trust? That sounds like such a weird question. Let's talk about green flags. Green flags do not mean these people don't make mistakes. However, green flag people are people who are transparent about their education, their training, their credentials, or lack thereof. They couch the information that they provide with lots of disclaimers that sound like this is a way to do your budget or this is a way to think about investing for retirement, but they are not saying this is either or, good or bad, black or white. It's either me or you're broke. So oftentimes some letters we might want to look for are things like a CFP, a certified financial planner, or therapists who actually have the credential to practice mental health therapy. A lot of people love using the term therapy who are not therapists. I'm getting on my soapbox about that, but we're going to leave that one for another time. But these are folks who are more likely to provide some sound financial advice based on their expertise and also default to you to be the decision maker and to be the person who can empower themselves to make the decisions that work best for you. These are folks who are providing information, education, and then giving you the opportunity to make the decisions that work best for you. Things like teaching you about a credit score, exposing you to different ways to run a household budget or spending plan. Things like answering questions about how to think about non-traditional retirement. Those are folks who I love to see, I love to hear from, and that are often good to gain information from to help you build your confidence and your overall exposure to financial well-being. And those are the folks that I want you to like, heart, save, so that way your algorithm shifts in the direction of people who are much more middle of the road and above board than the grifters that are out here grifting. If you have a question you want me to answer, you can go to mindmoneybalance.com/ask and you can submit a question that I might answer right here. So if you've got questions about financial influencers or about the old guard or about something else entirely, send me your question. I hope that this helped you to be a little bit more discerning about the content that you are consuming. It is really essential to check in with your wisest self, your smartest self, and navigate the information that you are exposed to with a healthy level of skepticism. Yes, credentials help, but they do not mean a person cannot cause harm or can't make mistakes. Be wary of hidden agendas, of what they are trying to sell. Be really clear about what they are trying to get at. And remember that not everybody who packages things in a cute aesthetic or in a trending manner is telling you things that are best for you. Be informed, yes, and stay smart. Check in with yourself, and I'll see you next time.